Hello, auction friends. This is Sherry with Red Apple Auctions. And since COVID-19 disrupted our auction event industry in early March, I've been hosting a series of conversations talking about what the next 6 months look like and what we should be planning for. And what I thought I would do today is shoot just a short little video that was encompassed. This topic was encompassed in, I think it was our second conversation. And it's talking about goals and what needs to change if you decide to move to a virtual fundraising event. And the first one, obviously, we know is technology. Technology needs to change. That's a given. The second thing that needs to change is your financial goals. I would really be taking a look at that. I've been incredibly impressed to see that the income that's coming in from these virtual events has been nearly the same as what it has been in the past, in some cases surpassing. Now, I wasn't as surprised with the net income being so strong because after all, you're not having a venue charge, you're not having a food and beverage charge, you're not having to rent the linens, all of that is gone. So the net income didn't surprise me. But in a couple of cases, we even saw strong growth in gross income, which is surprising. Now, I temper that knowing the fact that in many of these cases, they had an incredible amount of pre-event work to get that set up, commitments to the fund in need, pre-bids in the live auction items, that sort of thing. The other element that I'm tempering my enthusiasm with here is that we are still very early in COVID-19 when those started. When you are going into a lockdown and you think it might just be 2 to 4 weeks, it might be more like a vacation and you feel very secure in your economic stability and more willing to give. I don't know that if we're still in a lockdown environment come August, that people are going to feel that way. So I'm tempering those results with kind of where we are in the cycle of COVID-19. The other piece that I'm tempering it with is that in many cases, these were school events. And if you're a parent and you're going to give money, you're more than likely going to give it to your child's school. You may be less likely to give it to a nonprofit. So keeping that in mind, you know your base. Is your base full of people who you are their charity of choice? Or is your base composed of people who maybe you are the second, third, or fourth charity of choice for these donors? The further down you are on their list, the harder it's going to be for you to make sure that you get a great number from a virtual gala. So that's some tempering. I love the results, impressed with the results. I'm just tempering the results with what I've just shared with you. Another element that needs to change is maybe it's not just about financial goals. Maybe this is the year to talk about community. This is the year to talk about bringing people together in a virtual environment because this is your tribe. These are the people who have supported you, and by golly, it might be a weird year, but that doesn't mean that you don't appreciate people and that you don't bring them together, especially when the costs to pull off a virtual event are so nominal. Why wouldn't you? So to that event, I think that celebrating together and all, toasting to a shared mission, that is your nonprofit's mission, is important. So that might be something that you bring to your board or your committee and say, look, maybe we aren't going to raise as much, but you know what? I think we still need to have it because I think it's important to bring our community together and remind them that we're here. Another element, I think it's key to consider how having a virtual gala can show your leadership, can show your authority in your community. There is the old phrase, to the victor belong the spoils, right? When you are the first in your community to do a virtual gala, guess who gets the spoils? Guess who gets the media attention? Guess who gets to write about it? Guess who gets to talk about it and lecture about it? Guess who gets to put it on their resume or LinkedIn profile? You do. And so from that standpoint, the leadership, the authority that you bring can make a big impact. Sure, you're going to have to reimagine all of the conversations, what your content is. You're going to have to think about all of that gala in light of Corona. But what you do right now, if you do it right, if you show leadership, if you demonstrate authority, it's going to carry you straight out of Corona, and people will remember that. I think that what Corona has ushered in is something that I felt for a long time, but you don't see the cracks in a strong economy. You see the cracks in a bad economy, and that's what we're about to see. If you are a gala and you've been mismanaged and you're not using that great of vendors and you're just clapping it together, in a shaky economy, an economy that's falling, there's no room for error. the cracks really start to break open. So from that standpoint, this isn't a time for business as usual. This is a time where you need to make sure you've got your best team around you and you're bringing your A game, because there's no room for error here. None. It's never been more important that you know who you are, who you serve, why you serve them, how much it costs to serve them, how you're different from the nonprofit down the street, why you're more important doing whatever it is that you do than anyone else, how you're able to deliver those services better than anyone else. This is the time that you need to nail all that down and make sure that in your virtual gala, you present that difference to your community, because otherwise the money becomes tight. Easy to give it over there, easy to give it over there. You've got to demonstrate your leadership and why you matter in a bad economy. You can skate by in a good economy, and for 10 years, it's kind of been like a lot of skating. But now, there's no room for error. Okay, another one. You may decide to go ahead and consider a virtual gala is going to bring you expanded reach. You're going to have expanded awareness. You might get more likes on Facebook. You might be able to launch a better YouTube channel. You're going to have this, if it's well done, a virtual gala is going to live for a period of time, and that can become a marketing piece for you as well. So that could be another reason as to why you might want to go ahead with a virtual gala, and consider that too. That might be a goal that you want to evaluate yourself on by the end of the virtual gala. A final element that is going to have to change, and something that you might want to think about measuring yourself on, is how involved are your guests. And I talk about this more in another video that I have. But to date, what we've seen is a lot of people have said you got to keep these virtual events short. People leave. It's hard to get them to show up. That's what they say. It's so hard to get them to show up, and then man, they're just bailing out. So from that standpoint, how are you keeping engagement of your guests? That would be something else to think about measuring. How many people showed up? How many people stayed throughout? And what did you do to make sure that those people were engaged for that period of time? So that can be something else to think about. What needs to change? How do we keep them involved when this is a virtual event and doesn't offer all of the natural benefits that an in-person event does, like socializing, interacting, seeing neat things, experiencing new things? All of that's taken away in the virtual environment because you don't control how they're taking in your content. They are where they are. And that might be at a kitchen table with kids running around between their feet and a dog who's barking because he needs to be walked. So since you can't control all of those things, what you'll eventually see is, what can you measure is how long they decide to stay with you, and of course, how much money they may donate to your cause as well. So all of those things are really elements to keep in mind. What needs to change when you're moving to a virtual gala and how you can measure that are some considerations that I wanted to share in this video. If you want to talk more about your event and me serving as your virtual auctioneer or in-person auctioneer, depending on when it is, you can set up a meeting with me at my website, redappleauctions.com. Always a pleasure. Good luck to you in your event.